Hi all, in this video we will be covering multi-container pod and its usage. Why is it used for? So in Kubernetes, if we talk about, there are three types of scenarios that we get considering the multi-container pod. Let's see the first one, and this is the one. If we see, generally, you will need two containers in a pod for three types of scenarios. If you can just go through this documentation, one is the sidecar containers. That is when these containers or in a pod goes, they create and they destroy simultaneously. That is in one go inside a pod. So they are dependent on each other. For example, if we talk about the sidecar, so the example is that suppose you have a web server container and accordingly you have a log saving sidecar container which saves the logs onto a particular shared volume or a shared uh, local shared path for the storage. Similarly, there is second category which is ambassador containers. uh, there is also another example provided in this documentation. You can go through it. And there is the third one, which is adapter containers. This example is quite common when you have a monitoring agent in form of a container running along with an application container and storing the logs or or the or sharing the monitoring information to the central monitoring system. So let's create a multi-container pod through the Kubernetes documentation itself. Just give me a moment. Let me go in here. So just a moment. Okay. So in this documentation, if you see, we will use this YAML file that will create two containers, or you can say pod with two containers, and we can see the syntax in a while, but we will see like what we will be trying to do here. So what it's gonna do is uh, it would be creating two containers which would be using a same shared volume, and they communicate with each other, these two containers. One of the container is Nginx, the other is a Debian container. And if we see, once we have created the container through this pod file, through this YAML file, then we will be seeing the status of the containers using either the describe command, or we will be outputting as a YAML. And then we will be logging into the one of the into the containers in a pod, that is Nginx, and we would be running few commands and seeing any particular file created and all. So this is what we're gonna do. So let's get started. So we have a 3-node cluster. One is the master on which I'm logged in. Probably I will choose this in this manner. Just a sec. Probably this will make it easier so that we could see. So if we see in here, so we are logged into the master. I'm logged in with root, and let's copy this content. So I will just name it as it is. Then I will paste the syntax. We'll make few changes, or we can you can use it, or I will just change the name of the container here, or the pod, to I test pod, and restart policy is never. we have an empty directory mounted. If you see the syntax, this is an empty directory which is created. It uses till the time pod is active, and it destroys when the pod is uh, completed. And one container, if you see the syntax in the container section, you use two containers. One is Nginx container. We have given the name as Nginx container. It's using the shared data, and the the mount path is on user share Nginx HTML. And similarly, in here it's pod data, and it will be saving. Uh, there is a command argument in this. If you see, it would be the container, the dpn container. What it's gonna do is it will be writing this file, this text, hello from dpn container, to this shared volume. So we will just check this out, what it shows. We will be saving this file. If you want to create some more containers, you can add the same syntax: hyphen name colon say redis, then image name, that is redis, or some other. If you want to use the mount path, you use it, else you can skip it. So let's create using this command, multi container. Sorry, it's not over. So it says it's created. So we have this particular pod. So we will just describe. So if we see in here, we can see the thing that it says that this this particular pod, which one? Let's start from the start. So if we see here, the status of the pod is running. We can see the IP address of the pod, and then we see that it created Nginx container, which is in the state of running state. It is running, and because of which the pod is in running state. The Debian container, if we see in here, uh, it picked up the Debian image, and after that it pulled the image, and then it got terminated. When we after it what it used, it ran this command and put this content into this HTML file, that is hello from Debian container. Then it got terminated, and the status is completed for this particular container. And then for more details, you can find it in here. So let's see, let's try to log in, or just get into the container and see it. So if we see that it put in this file that we all know, okay, and then we can do is it writes that we have discussed. So this is the same thing. If we want to do it, will type we have used the describe command for this section instead of YAML. So we will be logging into or getting into this container and do the curl command, okay, and install the curl package, and then we will uh, try to launch this web page index.html, which is saved from the Debian. So before I do that, I will just change the name of the pod here. I will copy it. I will just use this command. So I'm into the, if you see, we have changed it and we are into the prompt of the pod, that is Nginx pod. So from here we will be using running this command. Let's try to see it if we are able to run it. So if we see, it is picking up this content from the index.html file which was created from the dpn container. So that's the example that we are using. I will paste both the links in the post that I will be creating with this video. So this is what I wanted to discuss in this video. Thank you for watching. Hope you like this video. Thank you guys.